What is up, guys? Austin back with another video today. Just gonna kind of take you around. Gotta go grab a couple things, but I'm gonna show you a couple things we just finished up building last night. So I'll spin you around. The first thing is we built this little skid steer bucket. This is for Dingo. It's a mini skid steer. It's 42 inches. I think it's something like 4 or maybe 4.5 cubic feet. No, that wouldn't make sense. Yeah, something like that. I'd have to look at the plans again to see exactly how big it is, but it turned out really good. It's got to get painted. Quick attach plate. It's for a Toro 525, I do believe. Came out really good. It's a stainless steel cutting edge made out of all 3/16 plate except the quick attach. The quick attach is a 1/4 inch plate. Let's see. Added this on. This is just some round stock, so if you ever beat your shit on that, it ain't gonna hurt super bad. I mean, it's gonna hurt, but you're not gonna. You probably won't get cut as if it was just a sharp piece of metal. Reinforced everything. There's 3 wear plates on the bottom, along with 1 across the back. You can kind of see where the welds burned through. We got pretty nice, even penetration all the way around on them. One of those times I'm really thankful for that MIG welder to just be able to just burn it. If I would have been stick welding it, man, that just would have been annoying. The other thing we built is a project for ourselves. Some of you guys who watch Austin Ross, he has one of these. A gin pole is what it's called. I don't have the winch for it yet. Might go pick it up today. I haven't decided yet. My wife's birthday's coming up, so gotta get her presents. So I don't know. I might go pick it up though. But yeah, just a nice gin pole. Goes to a 2-inch hitch receiver. 2-inch hitch receiver to some plate with some gussets reinforcing. There's 2 gussets on here. There's one of these on the other side. 3/8 plates, 5/8 plate, schedule 40 pipe. Ran up. I think it's 10 foot. I don't know if I'm gonna keep it. It will adjust more up and down this way. That's why I have it on a bolt there so it can pivot. In retrospect, I probably wish I would have moved that down lower so I could get my chains up farther, but my plan is to only use this thing to move a few hundred pounds, 3 at the most maybe, just because I am a one-man operation. I don't want to break my back all the time. I was on a gate install earlier in the week, or excuse me, earlier in the month, and we had to rent a tractor, and because I wasn't going to be able to lift it up by myself, and then I just started thinking, and then of course I watched one of Austin Ross's videos, and I saw his, and I thought, man, that would be perfect for those. And it can come off, lay down in a trailer, breaks up into 2 parts. So I built myself one. Now I'm going to go pick up a winch for it and get that mounted. The only thing I haven't figured out yet is I would like the winch to run off the trailer lights. I think you can do that. I don't know why you wouldn't be able to, because I know guys have, like I know we had a trailer that you put it, yeah, you put it into the trailer plug, so I don't know why you couldn't. I guess I just got to figure it out. Kind of one of them things that just want to take some thinking and make sure I do it right. Other than that, projects, I've got some steel coming today. It'll probably be here by the time I get back. We're gonna pick up a bunch of trailer ramps. This is really starting to look messy. So what we're gonna do is all these scrap pieces right here, I'm gonna go pick up a 55-gallon barrel. We're gonna load all those in it. If we get the gen pull set up, I might even lift up the barrel and drive it out back to the rest of the scrap pile. We're gonna get all this cleaned up and kind of weeded it away so it looks nice. Whew, that thing's solid. I'm gonna get into building these more. I had just over 3 hours into it, which isn't bad. I cut it with my 7 1/4 inch Evolution skill saw, which is way better because then, I mean, I could just snap a line on all the angles and I didn't have to worry about torching them. I didn't have to worry about cleaning it, going through, grinding all of that, sparks everywhere. Just cut them all out, tacked it all up, and welded it out. It was simple as that. This thing, I had a buddy stop by yesterday. He started cutting everything out, but I think I had it done in a couple hours. So, anyways, guys, I'll bring you back later today. Alright guys, so we just grabbed a barrel. Took me longer, had to go out to another place, kind of far away, a couple towns over, but that's okay. Ended up having lunch with the wife, so that was good. Hopefully you guys can hear me alright with the wind. But yeah, so now we're just gonna go home. Steel probably has been delivered. We've got a couple sets of ramps to make. Then we're gonna kind of get the yard cleaned up a little bit and all that jazz, just so it looks good. I like things to be nice and clean, and it's been just super unorganized and messy. I'm figuring out real quick, I don't have like good storage for like all my tools and stuff, because stuff is just always everywhere. So I've been selling a lot of stuff, kind of back to the old rule, if I haven't touched it or used it in like a year, it can go down the road. Because we've got new equipment all the time that we want to bring in that's, you know, bigger, better, more efficient. So that's what we're just trying to work towards. But all in all, it's been a pretty good year, a lot better compared to last year for sure. Busy, that's what we want to be, busy. We've got, the one thing I wanted to talk about was why you should always pay cash for your equipment, alright? And I just kind of figured while we're driving down the road here, now would be a good time. The reason I like to pay cash for equipment, the reason I think you always should, is because then the equipment from day one makes you money. Whereas if you go and you buy equipment on credit, you have to work that equipment to pay that credit. And it is always more than if you would have just bought it cash. Let's talk about this welder for instance. If I bought this welder on credit, I'd be making payments on it, which would require interest, which instead of the $3,200 or $3,500 I paid for it, I'd probably end up paying up around $4,500. So paying in cash, you're already ahead of money. It wouldn't have been the end of the world for this machine because I kind of figured it paid for itself in the first month, but you won't always have more specialty equipment. Might not always be like that, you know. If I bought a lathe just to do a few parts here and there, it might take longer for that thing to pay itself back. So I like to be my own bank, and I like to just save up money, and then when I want to go buy a new piece of equipment, I just pay that equipment in cash, and then the money that equipment makes goes back into my bank account. The exception to that rule, for me anyways, and it will vary through everybody, but the exception to that rule would be if you already have work for it. So what I mean by that, and my rule of thumb is I'll borrow money on something if my ROI, my return on investment, is 90 days. That's my rule. Now if it was like 100 days, I'd still do it. But that's kind of what I try to stick with, the 90 days. So it's about 3 months. Okay? Our next piece of equipment we want to buy is a CNC plasma table. So, let's say I've looked at them. They're anywhere from $6,500 to 10 grand, depending if I buy brand new, used, and all that. I'm not afraid of used equipment. I would like one brand new, because anything with electronics like that, the newest is the most efficient. So I would like to buy new, but we're saving up money. We've got good jobs coming in now. We can, you know, save up a couple $100 here, $1,000 every once in a while. You know, we just tuck it away outside of our day-to-day expenses. It won't take me that long. I'm already on the high side, 2/3 there. Meaning that if I spent $10,000 on one, I'm 2/3 of the way there. The other thing about it is when I buy it, I've ran CNC tables a few times. I know how they basically get used. But I haven't, like, I've never had like a full-time job running a CNC table. I would, if our CNC guy was out sick, the fabricators, we would just fill it, you know. So if I had a list of parts I needed cut, I would go over and cut them. But I've never actually, you know, full-on ran one. So there will be a learning curve. So I want to get it when my work is slow in the winter, so this winter I can teach myself kind of how to use it. I started learning CAD programs last winter, just self-teaching, just to try to learn those a little bit, to be one step ahead of the game, and that's been good, because I've actually been able to like draw up plans and send those, you know, through email to customers, and it simplifies life. But the big thing for me, and I always try to stick to it, is pay off equipment in cash. Now, I know what you're saying, Austin. It's easy, you know, if you're saving up for a $3,000 welder or a $10,000 CNC table. But what happens? I mean, it's going to take you forever to save up for a $30,000 brake, or a $30,000 shear, or a $30,000 CNC table. Well, yes and no. If I were to just like go out and get a job working 9 to 5, it would take me a long time. If that's all I was doing, 40 hours a week, a long time to just put that money aside. But I don't. So I have a welder that makes me money. So as the welder makes me money, I'll save it up and I'll get a CNC table. And when I get a CNC table, I'll have a CNC table and a welder that make me money. And I will save up the profits from both of those to buy a shear. I mean, and I do other stuff. I'll do like a light welding supply sales, you know, cut off discs, grinding wheels, stuff like that. So that makes me a little bit of money. I haven't been opposed to doing trucking before. For those of you who don't know, I grew up, my dad was a truck driver. In fact, I have tons of truck drivers in my family. So, and we have a big Amish community around us. So it's not unorthodox for me to go out and, you know, haul hay or haul them to their job site, or their tool crib, their enclosed trailer to the job site. That's not out of the question for me. I've done it, I don't mind doing it, and it makes a little money. So I have a truck that can generate money that, you know, contribute. So there's four. A TIG welder at home that I weld aluminum with. You know, there's 4 different pieces of equipment that can make me money to work on buying those bigger jobs. On the backside of that, my wife and I have simplified our living. So, you know, we don't have credit card debt. You know, we've got very, very few debts. So our month to month, our living expenses are not that much. So we don't have to pull as much money out of the business account to pay for the cost of us to live. So that helps, you know. Like, it's kind of that time-old question. Who makes more money? The guy who $40,000, but they can live on $25,000. Their profit's $15,000. So it's kind of like that. So we have a decent income, and we're getting it's growing all the time, and as it's growing, our cost of living is actually shrinking because we're taking money and snowballing the rest of our debts away. So those are just things to like keep in the back of your mind as you start doing stuff. Like it will take you a few years to build up, but the thing is once you're there, as I call it, because I have a buddy who likes to buy things on credit. So for him, he's very, very cash poor, but he's very, very wealthy when it comes to his credit. Now, he has a very good credit score, and he can get loans on just about anything, and he can make enough cash to cover the loan payment. So that's how he affords stuff. Me, we have decent credit, but it's just easier for us to right now say, hey, if we want to save something up, we can go buy cash for it. Like on a personal note, the exception to that would be buying a house, because most young people aren't going to be able to save up $150,000 for their first home. Get a house that's reasonable, something you can afford, but we financed our house. We're not that rich. Not yet, anyways. But, anyways, guys, that was just a little bit of talk. We are almost back at the shop. When we get there, I'm gonna unload this barrel, clean up some metal. My steel should be there. We'll get that cut up, and we will get all those welded. And then we've got a bunch of stuff to paint, and yeah, we'll be good to go. So, see you guys in a little bit. Alright guys, so we're back at the shop getting ready to cut up some steel for some trailer ramps. You saw me there putting some earplugs in. I've got gloves on. I'm always using the proper PPE. As you can see, I've got my face shield there. It's just good practice. You don't want to get yourself hurt, and then especially me being a one-person operation, I just want to be careful. I don't want to, drop something on my foot and not be able to walk and do my jobs and lose customers. So I know for a lot of young people, PPE is like, yeah, whatever, I don't need it. But trust me, from a guy who's had metal have to get dug out of his eye on numerous occasions, just wear the stuff. It's better for you in the long run. So let's talk about the saw I'm using real quick. So this is the 14-inch Evolution chop saw. I'm running a Diablo blade. The Diablo blades are a little cheaper than the Evolutions. I will say, I think the Evolutions are just a touch better. The Diablo is a very good blade, but if you notice right here on the startup, it's letting out a lot of sparks. And this is 4.1 pound 3-inch C-channel. So, it's decently thick stuff, but I've noticed with the Evolution blades, they don't let off quite as much sparks when they start up. And the metal shavings they take off seem to be just a little bit bigger. For the dollars, though, I'll probably keep these Diablo blades. This one is kind of old, too. We had a 14-foot property gate we installed that was all Schedule 40 pipe. I cut all of that with this blade, along with, I think this right here is the 6th set of ramps I've made. And then I actually, after this video, I made 3 more sets the following week. So this blade's, it's been around a long time. It's cut through a lot of steel. So I'm just checking my measurements there. So these are 5-foot trailer ramps. Doing some math. I don't order a lot of steel for this particular job. I ordered just enough, so I wanted to be sure. There's a look at the cuts. Super good cuts. That's another thing about these Evolution chop saws. They're so nice because you can just cut it and then you don't have to worry about going back and prepping it for weld. You can literally cut it and go over and weld it. It's clean and they're much more precise. So anyways, these are trailer ramps I'm building. I believe I had 3 sets to do this week. Just something, I just build them, I just post them on Marketplace. 5-foot ramps. I've sold, I don't know how many, probably close to 20 this year. And this is the kind of work I like doing. Is I'm at home, I got the radio going. You can see me moving some of my homemade fabrication jacks around to make sure it's level so I can get the right cut. But these are the jobs I like doing because I'm home. You know, I can play fetch with the dog and do all that kind of stuff. Be home when the wife's home and all that good stuff. I like working out of the shop. It's definitely a new experience. I definitely like it though. So the trailer ramps I make are 15 inches wide. So looks like here I'm getting ready to cut all the crossmember pieces. Another thing too, when you're doing these, it's just so much better if you can just do a bunch at a time. Like, I think these, I had all these sold. Generally what I'll do is I'll try to do 2 sets of each ramps above what I have on the order. So I have light duty ramps and I have heavy duty ramps. The heavy duty ramps are for like heavy equipment guys loading their skid steers up. We do get the occasional guy who brings their trailer out and I mount them on the back of their trailer with spring loaded hinges and everything so they're easy to put up and down. But these are just something that, you know, I like to set up a little production run in the shop and you know, build some. I think the most I've done 6 of these in a day, but I try to do my order plus 2 of each ramp. Now you'll see there I've got it just propped up on a 55-gallon barrel and my fabrication jack. Since then I just went to Harbor Freight and they're like $17 each. I bought the rollers. Those were a big help because then I can get everything level and I don't have to like pick it up and slide it down. I can just roll it into place. I know there's more expensive, better ones I can get, but we are doing everything on a budget around here. You know, this is our 2nd year, and we did a lot for our first year, all things considering. You know, we bought a house and did a lot of work to the shop to get it ready and all that stuff. So pretty excited about that. But these are good things. There's tons of things you can make to just sell along with doing repair work off your rig. These are one of the things I do, and they you know, boost a nice chunk of change. I don't get rich off of selling a set of these, but I make enough to make it worthwhile. And then you can't see it, but around the corner we built the dingo bucket. I tell my wife all the time that if I could just get by building trailers, flatbeds, barbecue smokers, and like skid steer attachments, I would, because those are like the fun jobs to me. That skid steer bucket, I think it took me, I thought it was going to just kind of take me all day, but I ended up just drawing it out first, which I always recommend doing. I always recommend, before you even step in the shop, is make a drawing of it and get a cut list. That way you know everything in order. You know, I figured the blade, you figure a blade width, this chop saw is an 1/8 inch, so I always figure an 1/8 inch. Whoops. I always figure an 1/8 inch for the cuts, you know, if you're getting close to like, you know, your 20-foot stick or whatever you're using. So that's just something to keep in mind. That way if you draw it out, you've done the job once, in a manner of speaking, before you even get to the shop. So like, you know what your steps are, and it takes out all the stopping, thinking, and all that. So anyways, I was able to draw it all up, and I I think I had that skid steer bucket done in like 3 hours. Maybe it might have been 4. It was definitely 4 hours with painting it, but to me that's pretty good when you figure, like, I'm a one-guy shop, so I, you know, lifted the Sheeta 3/16 onto the bed of my truck, backed it up, moved it onto the sawhorses, laid everything out, cut it, fit it all together, tacked it all together, welded it solid, and then painted it. That's a lot to do for one guy in 4 hours. At least for me anyways, it feels like. Okay, so now we're switching over here. Again, PPE. It's been super hot out, so instead of wearing a long sleeve shirt, I just put on these sleeves. I really like them. Good MIG gloves. These are just the cheap pair that you get at Harbor Freight, and a good welding hood. And I still have my earplugs in. Oh, looks like I forgot to turn on my gas. There we go. So you can kind of see my setup. I just, on one side of the door, I cut them together, and then I weld them in the back. See, it's been like 90 degrees here, but our humidity has just been terrible. So anyways, I just throw them up on the sawhorses and get them all laid out and start welding them together. As you can see, I tack the bottom side, and then I take a square, make sure everything's square with the top side. The other thing I do, and I must have done this off camera, is I'll measure from one end of the side rails, and I'll measure up my spacing, which if I remember right is 10 inches on these. So I'll measure up that spacing, and then I'll line the bottom one up, the bottom cross member up on the bottom side rail to that mark, that every 10-inch mark, and I'll tack it, and then I'm taking my square, squaring it against the top one, and usually when I square it against the top one, it lines right up with that top mark, because I always start with my two ends, so I make sure those are good, and my outside's nice and square, and then I go through and square up the center ones, the middle ones. It's a good way to just make sure everything is nice and square and straight. You don't want like crooked lines or anything like that. So anyways, yeah, now it's just welding them all out. The tip of my welder is getting pretty old, but I try to keep them as long as I can. But these are a good thing when you're just starting out. I wouldn't tell you to do them if you be confident in your welds. You know, like these cars, 10,000 pound pieces of machinery might be loading onto them if they're my heavy duty ones. So if you're going to do them, be pretty confident in your welds. The last thing you want is for someone to get hurt trying to load their stuff. And, you know, of course, check with your liability insurance and all that to make sure you're covered just in case something happens. But other than that, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos, guys. We're just going to weld these out here, and then I'll bring you back. Alright guys, what's up? Got busy last night. Camera died. I'm sorry. Newbie here. Just wanted to show you a little bit of what we did. I just finished painting the last set. There's 2 sets of trailer ramps here, and there's one over there. So this one right here is a little different than what I normally make. The guy had lost one, and he wanted to know if I could make one to match his trailer, so that's what we did. And then he's also getting 2 other ones. These are just like my light duty ones. And then these are light duty ones too, but they are made with C-channel, and the only reason, and he just wants the ones that like rest on his trailer. I don't normally make these. I don't make them to sell, but yeah, that's them. So C-channel, angle iron, and then offset angle iron. The gin pull took off my truck because I haven't got a winch yet. And then we made a dingo bucket, mini skid steer bucket. Turned out really, really nice. Everyone's coming to grab this stuff this weekend. And I've got, I'm gonna clear this off, get to work on it a little bit. It's a pig roaster. I do have to flip over the skid steer bucket and paint it. I know the paint, I mean, once he starts using it on all this stuff, it's just gonna chip away and be gone within a couple months, but it looks good for the advertisement, and it looks good, like, when they first pick it up, that's their first impression, it's painted, it looks nice. So if any of you guys are out there, you're making stuff, or you go and you're working on somebody's stuff, just keep some black paint. You know, it's like $4 a can, you know, just grab some black paint and touch it up, you know. But anyways, guys, so that's it for this video. I'll gotta edit it all, and you probably won't see it until this weekend. But subscribe if you haven't already. Leave me a comment on what you think. If you got any questions, comment section is a good spot for that too. And we'll see you on the next video.